September 28, 2005. I'm Ted Koppel, and this is Nightline.
The majority leader, Tom DeLay of Texas.
He is one of the country's most powerful Republicans. And today he was indicted by a Texas prosecutor, a Democrat.
My job is to prosecute felons. I'm doing my job.
This is one of the weakest, most baseless indictments in American history. It's a sham, and Mr. Earl knows it.
Can the man known as the Hammer withstand this legal and political firestorm?
He survived that before. It's not clear he'll be able to survive it again.
Tonight, indicted, Tom DeLay steps down in the face of a felony charge. Tom DeLay is a little like oysters. Hardly anyone is neutral on the subject. You either love him or you hate him. The same condition seems to afflict the House Majority Leader. He is aggressively and, for the most part, successfully partisan. That's why, for the most part, his fellow Republicans love him, and for essentially the same reasons most of his political opponents in the House do not. Rumors that Austin District Attorney Ronnie Earl was seeking an indictment of DeLay have been circulating now for months. Today, a Travis County grand jury returned that indictment, charging the House Majority Leader with conspiracy to violate the Texas Election Code. That drew a withering response from Mr. DeLay, who accused Earl of being a partisan fanatic and called him a rogue district attorney. While it is true that Ronnie Earl is a Democrat, he has, over the years, actually indicted far more Democrats than Republicans. That Democrats on the national scene would like nothing better than to see Tom DeLay in deep legal distress was evident months ago when Howard Dean, the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, said that Tom DeLay ought to go back to Houston where he can serve his jail sentence courtesy of the Texas taxpayers. That was a little premature, of course. DeLay hadn't even been indicted back then, let alone convicted. But it gives you the flavor, and we'll see what Howard Dean has to say on this program a little later tonight. I'll also be talking to Tom DeLay's lawyer, but first, here is my Nightline colleague Chris Bury with some background on the actual charge.
I want to pass the Hammer.
Here in Washington, the Hammer, as he is known, is both feared and admired for his extraordinary ability to marshal money and power.
See my grandson?
But back in Texas, Congressman Tom DeLay has also earned another nickname for surviving so many ethical firestorms.
I call Tom Teflon Tom because there has been so many things that have come up about him and have been questioned about him, and nobody's ever really done anything about it.
But now Texas prosecutor Ronnie Earl, a Democrat, will test that Teflon reputation in the first criminal indictment against Tom DeLay.
The indictment describes a scheme whereby corporate money, which cannot be given to candidates in Texas, was sent to the Republican National Committee, where it was exchanged for money raised from individuals and then sent to those Texas legislative candidates. Criminal conspiracy is a state jail felony punishable by 6 months to 2 years in the state jail and a fine of up to $10,000.
Just another day at the office.
Today, managing a taut smile, a defiant Tom DeLay dismissed the indictment and attacked the prosecutor.
It's a sham, and Mr. Earl knows it. It's a charge that cannot hold up even under the most glancing scrutiny. This act is the product of a coordinated, premeditated campaign of political retribution, the all too predictable result of a vengeful investigation led by a partisan fanatic.
DeLay is accused of breaking a law that Texas adopted in 1905 to stop powerful railroad barons from brazenly buying political influence. According to the indictment, Tom DeLay conspired with 2 associates with the intent that a felony be committed to launder corporate money into political campaigns. The money, $155,000, came from Sears Roebuck, Bacardi, and other companies to DeLay's Political Action Committee, Texans for a Republican Majority, or TRIMPAC. That money and more in this check for $190,000 was then sent to the RNSEC, the Republican National State Elections Committee, allegedly so it could be funneled back to candidates running for the Texas legislature.
I'll have a statement later.
What was Tom DeLay's personal involvement?
Well, it's interesting because the indictment is a little bit thin on Tom DeLay's personal involvement. It alleges that he was involved basically in a scheme or a conspiracy to do this. It doesn't really lay out specifically what his involvement is.
Tonight, in the series of TV appearances, DeLay insisted, as he has all along, that he was only peripherally involved.
Trim Pack as a separate entity. I had no fiduciary responsibilities. I had no managerial responsibilities. I had nothing to do with the day-to-day operation. I was simply, along with 4 other elected officials, on an advisory board.
But in a successful civil suit against Trim Pack's treasurer earlier this year, documents suggest DeLay was directly involved in Trim Pack's corporate fundraising. This note from the Williams companies, including a $25,000 contribution, is personally addressed to Tom DeLay.
The discovery shows that Mr. DeLay was supposedly given a list of 10 people to specifically call regarding contributions to Trim Pack. We know that Mr. DeLay personally met with people, contributors in Austin on July 29th, 2002 at a private meeting. Finance Committee conference calls were rearranged so Mr. DeLay could specifically be on the conference call.
That 2002 Texas campaign was vital for Republicans. They took control of the state legislature, redrew the congressional map, and then elected more Republicans to Congress in 2004. To Tom DeLay, today's indictment is all about political revenge.
Over the course of this long and bitter political battle, it became clear that the retribution for our success would be ferocious. Today, that retribution is being exacted.
It may very well be that Ronnie Earl has a political motive, I don't know. But at the end of the day, the question is going to be, can he get a jury to convict Tom DeLay? And if he can do that, then whether the indictment was politically motivated or not becomes irrelevant. Tom DeLay is convicted of a crime.
Today's indictment, politically motivated or not, is the most serious in a string of ethics allegations against Tom DeLay. In the last few years, the House Ethics Committee has reprimanded him 3 separate times. His longtime friend, lobbyist Jack Abramoff, and a former DeLay press secretary are under federal investigation for allegedly defrauding Indian tribes. The question now is whether this indictment is a tipping point.
This elevates the case in terms of visibility and immediacy, I think, in a way that the other accusations haven't. Well, Tom DeLay is a fighter. He's going to fight this the way he's fought everything else. But it's going to take him a while to get out from under this cloud. This kind of indictment is going to hang over him for a while, chances are, and that's going to really cripple him in the House of Representatives.
In accordance with the rules of the House Republican Conference, I will temporarily step aside as floor leader in order to win exoneration from these baseless charges.
This afternoon, DeLay's colleagues unanimously elected Missouri Congressman Roy Blunt, their whip, to take on DeLay's duties as majority leader. For Democrats, of course, the DeLay indictment is a political gift. Today, the party wasted no time in putting up this website, citing Tom DeLay's, quote, house of scandal to solicit donations.
This kind of scenario occurs only in their dreams, normally. In terms of candidate recruitment and fundraising, they've already started this to use the indictment just immediately, hours after the indictment was announced. This is a bonanza for the Democrats.
But for the White House, it is a headache. Today, the president's spokesman insisted Tom DeLay remains a good ally, but with the president's own popularity dipping and his agenda in Congress stalled, the timing is problematic. For now, Republicans are hoping the powerful leader, sometimes known as the Hammer, can once again live up to his other nickname, Teflon Tom. This is Chris Bury for Nightline in Washington.
And when we come back, Tom DeLay's perspective, an interview with Mr. DeLay's attorney in a moment.
This is ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by MasterCard.
Hey, batter. Hey, batter.
First base, $58. Second base, 630 pesos. Third base, 300,000 yen. Home, priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. Fan of the game, wherever there's a game.
I was just getting to the good part when Uncle Ernie dropped his Toms. Oh, I'd seen that look before. It was heartburn. Before you could say duck sauce, I was there with my Pepsid Complete. I told him only Pepsid Complete starts to neutralize acid on contact and keeps heartburn from coming back all day or all night. In no time, Uncle Ernie was in Mushu heaven, and I had my eye on the spicy dumpling. Pepsid Complete, just one and heartburn's done.
Thursday, George Clooney. For the first time, he opens his doors to his private, jaw-dropping Italian villa. He'll even take you to the master bedroom. Don't miss this Diane Sawyer exclusive.
Well, that's as good as it gets.
On primetime Thursday.
Home loans confused Julie. What are points in escrow, she'd wonder. Then she went to Washington Mutual. They explained the process step by step. Now Julie's never confused.
And the answer is...
Basal ganglia.
Basal ganglia.
I'll take it. And I don't need the extended warranty. So when you say it's not you, it's me, you're really saying it's me.
Exactly.
Do you want that snow pea?
Nice work, Julie. Nice work.
For over 75 years, we've been sacrificing mobiles in the name of safety. Today, when it comes to style and design, we sacrifice nothing. Safety is a beautiful thing, especially when it's beautiful. The 2006 Volvos.
I bet I may as well try and catch the wind.
And joining me now from Austin, Texas, Tom DeLay's attorney, Dick DeGuerin. Before we get into the specifics of the indictment, what is your understanding of how long Mr. DeLay has to stay away from his job in Washington before he can, does he have to stay out until this case is resolved, or how does that work?
Well, as I understand, he has to step down temporarily from his leadership position. He doesn't stay away from his job. He's going to continue to represent his constituency. It's just that he's got to step down from majority leader position.
My question, I guess, is how long, what is temporarily?
Well, until this case is over, until we beat him and he's exonerated and can go back up there.
Which raises serious questions. How quickly is that going to happen, do you think?
Well, we want a trial right away. I don't know how quick we can get to trial. The judge is not in town, and we can't immediately get a trial setting, but we're going to ask for one right away, consistent with doing the things that lawyers are supposed to do. We've got to file motions. We've got to have the motions heard, and the judge may throw the case out before we go to trial. There's a very good chance of that. But if he doesn't, we're going to trial. There's not going to be any compromise. There's no middle ground here.
And how long does it take to file those motions? I mean, what's your estimate? What I'm trying to get to, obviously, is how long is it going to be before Mr. DeLay can go back to his job, assuming that he is exonerated?
Well, I think it's going to take a couple of weeks at least to get the motions together. You know, this kind of came up at the last minute after being told that he wasn't the target of the investigation for the past 2 years. But to answer your question, I think a couple of weeks is a good deadline for motions. When the judge can hear them, I think probably a few weeks after that. So we're looking at a month and a half before the motions get determined, and maybe we can go to trial pretty soon after that.
Is your position and Mr. DeLay's position going to be that none of what is charged ever happened, or that it may have happened, but he had no part in it?
No, and it's neither one of those. What's been charged is not a crime. The facts are pretty well known. But I want to make one thing real clear. There was no corporate money that ever went to any candidates in Texas. The corporate money that was donated to TrimPAC, Texans for a Republican Majority, was lawfully donated to TrimPAC. That money was never spent on any Texas candidates.
Well, you understand the charge. You understand the charge better than I do. The charge is that TrimPAC then transferred that money to the Republican National Committee, which in turn then funneled it back to Republican candidates in Texas.
And that simply didn't happen. What the money that was sent from TrimPAC went out to other states where corporate money can be used. Texas has a peculiar law that says that corporate money can't go directly to individual candidates. No corporate money went to individual candidates in Texas. Now, what Tom DeLay is charged with is being a member of a conspiracy to have that happen. But number one, it didn't happen. Number two, they haven't said that Tom DeLay did anything.
Again, you will know the facts far better than I, as you should, but my understanding is that a check for $190,000 or thereabouts was sent by TrimPAC to the Republican National Committee, and that money then, obviously in another form, having been laundered, is the charge, then came back to candidates in Texas. Now, was there or was there not such a check?
First, the money laundry charge has been dropped. That's not a charge. Secondly, there was a check sent by TrimPAC to the Republican National Committee, but it ended up with the Republican National State Election Committee, which then took that corporate money and sent it to other states where corporate money could be used. So none of that money came back to Texas. Now,
when you say none of that money came back to Texas, I can, obviously,
right.
I can't tell you how you would know what happened to that money, but the charge, of course,
well,
is
I can tell you how you know that.
Well, I mean, the charge is that some money, wherever it originated, did come back to Texas and went to candidates in Texas.
That's right. And what the Republican National State Elections Committee does is it maintains two bank accounts, and there's a firewall between them. One of them is money that is donated by corporations lawfully, and the other is money that's donated by individuals whose purpose in donating is to have the Republican National State Elections Committee send that money where it's needed all over the country. And that's what was done. No corporate money got sent back to Texas. Corporate money got sent out, but it didn't come back to candidates in Texas.
So insofar as you're in the business of making prognosis, once this gets to court, you say it's either going to be tossed out before it goes to trial, or you win your trial after you go to trial?
I'm saying both of those things. There's a good chance that the judge would see that there's no crime charged here. And if he doesn't, and if we have to go to trial, I'm confident that a fair jury would say Tom DeLay didn't do anything wrong.
Mr.
There's no
DeGarre,
crime here.
It's good of you to join us, and I thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Ted.
When we come back, Howard Dean, the head of the Democratic Party, weighs in.
It takes a family to make a house a home, and a home to turn a dream into a future. So if you have a dream...
In Chicago, I'm your man. I'm an AmeriQuest mortgage specialist.
So if you're thinking of buying a home or refinancing?
I'll help you pay off your high-interest credit cards and lower your monthly payments.
I'm an AmeriQuest mortgage specialist, and I'm here to help you with your dream.
Call 1-800-AmeriQuest or visit AmeriQuest.com. AmeriQuest Mortgage, proud sponsor of the American Dream.
Once, a great night's sleep was easy to catch. But now, your restless mind keeps chasing sleep away.
I've got to pay those bills. Did I call the electrician?
Introducing Lunesta, a sleep aid that can give you and your restless mind the sleep you need. Lunesta helps most people sleep all through the night and works quickly, so take it right before bed. Lunesta is non-narcotic and approved for long-term use. Of course, do not use sleep medicines for extended periods without first talking to your doctor. Be sure you have at least 8 hours to devote to sleep before becoming active. Until you know how you'll react to Lunesta, you should not drive or operate machinery. Avoid taking Lunesta with alcohol. All sleep medicines carry some risk of dependency. Side effects may include unpleasant taste, headache, drowsiness, and dizziness. Ready to catch a great night's sleep? Just climb into bed and leave the rest to Lunesta.
Jimmy's got the scoop on Ashton and Demi's guest list.
They say Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore got married on Saturday. Bruce Willis was in attendance with his new fiancée, Dakota Fanning.
Tonight, Alec Baldwin and an all-new Jimmy Kimmel. Good times coming up, only on ABC.
Introducing the 300 horsepower Acura RL. With voice-activated technology and super handling all-wheel drive, power can be shifted front to rear, side to side, and while cornering, the outside rear wheel is accelerated for dramatically improved handling in all weather conditions. The all-new Acura RL.
Honey? Move! You're blocking my view! Hey, I didn't think you'd make it.
Ah, did you miss me?
We got a cash loan at Northwest Title Loan. It only took about 15 minutes with no hassle and no credit check.
Come on, what's the catch?
No catch. All we needed was a title to our car, and they loaned up to the maximum value on our vehicle.
The best part? We got the cash that day, plus we still have our car.
For a location near you, call 1-877-511-CASH.
And joining me now, the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, Howard Dean. He served as the governor of Vermont for 5 terms and was a candidate, of course, for the Democratic presidential nomination in 2004. A little over 4 months ago, Governor Dean, you were prepared to see Tom DeLay in jail without benefit of an indictment or a trial. I mean, you already had him there. So what's your reaction now that at least there is an indictment?
Well, I think that this is endemic in the White House, in both the White House and in the government. It's the culture of corruption the Republicans have brought to Washington. A couple of weeks ago, the chief procurement officer in the White House was arrested for corruption charges. Tom DeLay is now indicted, but he has been convicted 3 times in the Ethics Committee of the House for ethical violations. Karl Rove, the deputy chief of staff in the White House, is under investigation, along with a senior person on Senator Dick Cheney, Vice President Cheney's staff, and now, of course, the majority of the leader of the Senate, Bill Frist, is now being looked at for insider stock trading. So this is Tom DeLay issue is an issue that's been at the forefront, but it's not just about Tom DeLay. It's a thorough culture of corruption which has permeated the Bush administration, which has been brought to Washington by them, and we need to change it. We can do better in this country.
Governor,
we deserve better.
You were careful enough in each case to indicate that there are charges, there are suggestions, I mean, in no case has anybody been convicted of anything. So to speak about a culture of corruption before any legal procedure has confirmed that seems a little premature, doesn't it?
I don't really think so. I think when you have the majority leader who is now under indictment, having been admonished 3 times by the Ethics Committee, there's already a culture of corruption. You have the Senate leader trying to protest that he had nothing to do with insider trading. Look, this is a pattern, Ted. It's a pattern that recurs again and again in this particular administration. We need a fundamental change in Washington. We need to get away from this. Where there's smoke, there's fire. If this was one case of one congressman, that would be one thing. The House Majority Leader, the Senate Majority Leader, the Deputy Chief of Staff in the White House, Dick Cheney's Chief of Staff, the Chief Procurement Officer in the White House. This is pretty serious stuff. And I think that the President, frankly, ought to repudiate it. And he hasn't done anything. He stood by all these people. You know, we need some leadership in Washington. We need a president who will stand up for ethics in government. We don't have that president now.
You clearly believe, or you wouldn't be saying these things, that somehow this is going to resonate well with the American public. I guess my question would be, do you think the American public is going to respond to what it sees as a partisan attack, by which I mean an attack that comes before the courts have spoken?
Look, Tom DeLay was indicted by a jury of Texans. I don't know if there's 12 or 15 that sit in the grand jury in Texas, but this was not a partisan indictment. This is an indictment of his peers. His peers thought there was enough evidence to turn this into a trial. And Governor, that's what's going to happen.
Look, you know full well an indictment, they often say that a good attorney general can get an indictment with a ham and Swiss sandwich. An indictment doesn't necessarily mean that someone's going to be convicted.
Well, the Republicans would, of course, make that scheme. But the problem is this is a pattern with Tom DeLay. This is not the first time he's been in trouble. It's not the second time or even the third time he's been in trouble. This is the 4th time he's been in trouble. And the previous 3 times, he was found by his own committee, his ethics committee in the House, to, in fact, have been guilty of what he was charged of. So I think, you know, we again see a pervasive pattern of corruption in Washington at all levels, in the White House, in the Senate, and in the House. And this is the first indictment of a major political figure, but there have been previous indictments, both Jack Abramoff, who was both a big fundraiser for the president and very close to Tom DeLay, the arrest of the chief procurement officer in the White House. Again and again, we see a lot of this. And I think where there's smoke, there's fire.
Let me ask you to keep your hat as Democratic National Chairman on for a moment and give me a frankly partisan assessment of how, if at all, this can help the Democrats.
Well, I don't think it helps the country at all. That's the big issue. I mean, you know, at times like these, you kind of wince. This is not good for America. We've had some terrible blows. We've had the president's blunders in Iraq. We've had the disaster at Katrina, which embarrassed us in front of the whole world. And now the whole world again gets to see the leadership in both the White House, the House, and the Senate be indicted or investigated or arrested for corruption. It's not a great time for America, and I think Americans are sick of this. And I can tell you one thing. When we get back in power, which I believe is going to be in 2006, in the congressional, we're going to have some ethics reform in Washington. We're going to get tough. We're going to get tough on everybody, not just Republicans. Enough of this in Washington. We ought to have substantial ethics reforms in Congress and to get serious about this.
Governor Dean, it's good of you to come in and join us. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Ted.
I'll be back in a moment.
To receive a daily email announcement about each evening's Nightline and a preview of special broadcasts, log on to the Nightline page at abcnews.com.
Oh, man, a paper jam.
Paper jam. Get Pam. Get Pam.
I am.
We always get slammed with these paper jams.
Give it a good wham.
I couldn't find Pam, so I got Graham.
Why are we rhyming?
Guys, the presentation will be fine. We've got an easy button.
When it comes to making copies, every business has an easy button. It's called Staples. Our copy and print center can handle any job, big or small, when you need it done right.
Here's your diagram, ma'am.
Staples. That was easy. Come in and get color copies.